Tomo-Chan Is A Girl is a beautifully built romantic comedy that explores the contrasting personality of the tomboy main protagonist. With a fleshed out main couple, well-rounded supporting cast, hilarious comedy, and some standout animation moments done by Lay Deuce, it's no wonder this anime caught on with so many people since it was released. I was initially intrigued by the premise of a tomboy who fell in love with a boy who mistook her gender, and I wanted to see how it would work with the genre that I am generally a fan of. But I walked away from this series with a lot more than I anticipated. It's tough to adapt a web manga, especially one with only about 1 to 3 pages of volume, while maintaining interest for an entire season. Still though, this anime managed to pull it off impressively, which is a testament to the talent behind the writers and series composers. But let's really see what this series has to offer with its story. This anime is about a pair of childhood friends named Jun and Tomo. Due to their competitive personalities, they compete with each other regularly, despite their differences in gender. This has led to Jun looking up to Tomo because to him, Tomo is better than him in every way. It seems like a sweet story of two childhood friends competing with each other, right? But there's one small issue. As they got older, Tomo developed feelings for Jun and confessed her love to him, only to find out Jun doesn't even see her as a girl due to her looks and her personality. Now, with the help of her friend Misuru, Tomo tries to get Jun to see her as a girl so they can eventually go out together. Besides the whole tomboy aspect, this seemingly plays out as a typical romantic comedy, but there's actually a lot more to this story than what meets the eye when you hear the premise. It actually has a great message of being yourself when Tomo realizes she doesn't need to act girly in order for Jun to love her. And for a series that just concludes in 13 episodes, it's really well paced and builds to the main relationship and the other various relationships, which I'll get to later, really well. It's also able to balance its comedy and serious romantic scenes incredibly. So many times did this series make me laugh and made me feel emotional. It really pulls you along for the ride, and the main characters are so likable as a whole that it's hard not to root for them. I particularly love how awkward this story feels at times. The characters are so close, yet when they actually try anything romantic, it's so awkward that it's hilarious. It's also oddly realistic for a high school romance to be like that, especially between two childhood friends. There's a lot I want to say about these characters since the cast here is great overall, but the story here is fantastic as well. I had a blast watching this couple go through the ups and downs of confessing to one another, but it can also be funny, cute, dramatic, even a little bit action-paced. Overall, it's really solid. Let's kick this off with Tomo. Tomo's exterior is that of a boyish, tough, competitive girl who uses physical violence to protect the people that are close to her. She regularly hits people when she's flustered, especially Jun. She does karate, and she's such an athlete that girls are too scared to work with her, so she gets put on the same level as the boys. But underneath this tough surface is just a regular girl. Someone who's in a confusing spot of wanting their lover to see them the same way that they do. I really like how she's not just a tough girl. She gets shy and awkward just like any teenage girl would get around their level. It makes her a little more relatable. She also has a dunce side of her that I really enjoyed as well. Not as dumb as Jun, who's basically perfect for her, but still kind of duncy compared to the other characters in the show. Due to her friend's advice, she begins trying to act more feminine in hopes of Jun finally seeing her as a love interest rather than just a bro. This causes issues though, since she started to believe that she had to act feminine in order to be the one for Jun. So towards the end of the season, she begins to hold herself back from going out with him, even though it was obvious he liked her back. In terms of depth as a character, she oddly has the least out of all the girls in the show, which is weird considering she's the poster girl. But she's a really entertaining character to follow. Her rash, aggressive nature when it comes to protecting her friends and Jun is admirable, but she also has a cute side to herself that you want to protect. I like the fact that she's not as complicated as the others, because while Kero and Misuru were interesting to learn about, Tomo has the most room to grow as a character in terms of personality, and her juxtaposition of being a tough tomboy and a cute girl is enjoyable to follow. I'm surprised we don't have more romance protagonists like her, someone who's so tough and straightforward straightforward on the outside, but still has those confusing feelings of romance like any other girl would. The closest example I can think of is Arisa from Fruits Baskets, but she wasn't a main character. Hopefully, the popularity that this series got will lead to more protagonists like her, because it's definitely different than other romances. It's not like a Nagatoro kind of thing where Tomo is being mean to June. She's just boyish. But yeah, she's a really likable character.
I never felt like
Jun is the main guy. In comparison to the other characters in the show, he's not the deepest, nor is he the most interesting, but he is solid overall. I think his personality is a breath of fresh air in the romantic comedy genre. He's not wimpy, he's not a degenerate, he's not a loser, he's actually a pretty normal guy who's athletic and healthy. He can be a bit of a dunce, which is a cliche to be fair, but since Tomo is also a dunce, I think it works really well. There's a pretty funny scene where he stays up at midnight and they treat it like the most insane thing ever. Due to their healthy sleep schedules, they sleep at pretty normal times. Again, just something more unique for the genre that's pretty funny. He doesn't want to acknowledge he's falling in love, so he plays this character of just treating her as a regular friend, but it slowly cracks as the show progresses. I think that's pretty neat. He also keeps the fact he's been protecting Tomo since they were kids a secret, despite the fact he sees Tomo as stronger than him. He's willing to protect her, which is a really sweet aspect of their relationship. Like I said before, these two are almost perfect for each other. Even though this series is mostly about the girls, Jun is an alright main guy. His personality is unique, and it's fun to see his mask persona break a little. If you thought this was your average rom-com where only the main two characters matter, buddy, you have no idea. The side characters have very concise character arcs, but these arcs give them a lot of depth. The main one being Misuru, who has no right to be as complicated of a character that she is. Her personality and her motivation for helping Tomo are a lot more complex than you think. Misuru is Tomo's best friend. She's dark, mysterious, cold, almost evil. I saw some say that Misuru is their type, and honestly, if you truly believe that, then you're either A, a masochist, or B, despite not being as physically tough as her childhood friends, Misuru knows how to put the right words together to really do damage emotionally and mentally, something that we see in the show. Yet despite this, she still helps Tomo with all of her problems. She seems to genuinely care about her a lot. Despite her history with Jun, they previously dated, she supports Tomo, and even helps her become more feminine in order to get his attention. So why is she doing all this despite her feelings towards Jun and love as a whole? It's a little complicated. Misuru is in a conflicted state of wanting her friend to be happy while also not wanting their relationship to change. She doesn't want Tomo's attention to drift from her to Jun, something that she's seemingly been worrying about ever since they were kids. But she also wants Tomo to be happy, so she's trying to keep this thing going for as long as she can. Not saying she acts particularly evil, she's the supportive best friend for the entire show, but to her, she needs to keep using them so that she can keep her friend. So her motivations are a little bit questionable in that regard. Romance is a game to her, and she isn't really aware of how it affects someone until she broke Carol. It takes her to the end of the show to realize what she did was wrong. Tomo didn't need to act feminine because Jun always loved her for how she is. He just had to be honest with himself about it. She seems to feel genuinely terrible for what she did. Love is more than a game. It features real emotions that can hurt people if toyed with, hence her change in mindset. She also has a selfless side. She was willing to make Carol hate her just to progress Carol and Ko's relationship, which in turn helped Jun and Tomo since Carol thought Ko liked Tomo, and Carol was starting to get in the way by hitting on Jun. This show is wild, man. Due to her unpredictability, Misuru is a consistent, enjoyable part of the show. Not only is her sinister personality a stark contrast to the others in the show, but her death makes her interesting as well. Something I didn't expect when I began watching. Carol is an absolute darling. Serving as the main rival turned second best friend of Tomo, Carol's personality is just a joy to watch. With her seemingly random songs to her airhead, childlike approach to the words cannot describe how much I love Carol. Even before they really developed her, her personality is just amazing. But similar to Misuru, she's a lot more complex than just an airhead. She's actually shown to be smarter than Misuru. Not only that, but she did something that was way more sadistic than anything Misuru has done. Like, she damn near hooks up with June, even knowing that that would potentially hurt Tomo a lot. She knows how she feels about him. She still did something like that, just to make her crush jealous. Luckily, it worked out in the end, but that could have gone a different way. Showcasing this more selfish side to her character added a lot of depth to her. And seeing her broken and in tears just added to that depth even more. Beneath the smile, beneath the random jokes, there's a girl who's scared to be alone. Someone who never had friends. Someone whose persona easily broke because the reality of the one person she was close with not liking her at all was too much to bear. Someone she loved since she was a kid. Carol presents herself as an angel, casually unaware of the world around her. Someone who never lets down her smile, and her selfless attitude made her charming. But deep down, she was emotionally vulnerable, and all it took was a little nudge by Misuru to really showcase that. It's tough to say if her smart and selfish side is something she hides on purpose or something she isn't aware of because she's an airhead. I personally think she's aware of it because she knew what she was doing when she got with June, and sometimes her random spurts of comedy seem to be a little too conveniently timed.
どんだけ恥ずかしい思いしたと思う。タンタタンタンタタタタタンタンタンタタタタタンタンタンタンタンタンタンタタンただいま。もういいかしら。もういいよ。
But either way, I think she's a great character and probably my favorite aspect of the show. You should all watch this just for Carol. And her mom too. She's basically Carol but older. By the way, I guess it's canon that Carol's mom is 28 years old. So if you do the math on that, that means she had Carol when she was just 13 years of age. There's a whole manga panel that explains that Carol's dad was 16 and accidentally impregnated a 13-year-old Carol's mom. She was just an airhead and didn't tell him her age, thus making Carol. Now that I think about it, I can see why they left that out of the anime. Nothing more wholesome than accidental preteen pregnancy. Don't think the good characters stop here. The entire cast is really solid. The main person I want to talk about here is Kosuke. As previously mentioned, he's Carol's crush, but he also likes her as well. He's just naturally shy. He also is pretty weak, both physically and mentally, but wants to get stronger in order to protect Carol. Since to him, Carol is so innocent and dunce that anyone could take advantage of her if they wanted. His protective nature over her leads to a rather aggressive side of his personality, which I thought was a neat contrast to his regular weak self. I mean, I get it completely. I'd pillage a village of adolescents if someone even dared to touch Carol. The other members of the cast are pretty entertaining too. Even extreme side characters like Tomo's dad being shy around his wife, the gang being scared of Tomo, and Carol's mom being the exact same as Carol. They can all be fun to watch. Something you'll notice with this series is the contrast. Each character is different from one another in some way. It makes the main female group very fun to watch in particular. It gets even better when June begins seeking help from Ko, which again is just another contrast in character personality. I felt each character got really fleshed out and each grows as the series progresses. It's a well done cast, especially for a genre that never really focuses on its side characters as much as the main couple. The animation isn't the most flashy or fluid thing out there, not even of this season, but it's consistent and has some standout moments here and there. The last episode especially had some really great animation over it. Laydus isn't really a well-known studio from a mainstream perspective, but they are usually consistent in production quality, and this is probably their best work so far. If I had to give a standout from the production side of things, it'd be the art. The various facial expressions are cartoony, especially especially during the moments of awkwardness, which can be pretty funny, and the designs are very vibrant and expression filled. The way the side characters dress up Tomo to look more girly can be entertaining as well, particularly with her fashion and her hair. There are a whole lot of memorable designs here. I don't have a lot to say about the look of the show, but it's solid overall. The OP is done by Maharajan. Ooh, this is where not knowing the language is gonna hit me. It's a solid enough song on its own. The awkward love lyrics fit the whole theme of the show, and the singer is pretty good. Telepathy. The ending is by the female cast of the show, again fitting awkward love lyrics. They're all solid singles as well. It was pretty funny when the males got a version in episode 10. I didn't see that coming. Again, it's pretty solid all around, but there's not a whole lot to say about it. Both the OP and the ending have solid animation on it. I particularly love the ending's art style. But yeah, just nothing really stands out about the music for me to comment on it. Now, one of the best aspects of this show in terms of production is probably the voice acting. It's a really stacked cast. Perhaps the biggest name is Rie Takahashi as Tomo. Anyone even slightly aware of voice acting will recognize the name. She's one of the best in the industry, and oh my goodness, she really is incredible. She was able to balance Tomo's tougher tomboy exterior and her cute, shyer side beautifully, and each voice fit in a pretty funny way. She's so versatile of a voice actress that she can do both voices perfectly. Like, it's honestly insane just how talented she really is. Credit as well to Sally Amaki for Carol, which might be a less popular name. I guess she's bilingual, so her English is actually really good. She was a great find for a character like Carol. There are plenty of funny moments with Carol that seem to only be amplified by an amazing performance from Sally. There's not really a better way to get this across to you guys than just showing you.
Mate.
Kairi Ishikawa is a great voice for the main boy. Rina Hidaka was great for Misuru, just a really talented performance as well from her. That's another voice actress who's incredibly versatile. Even side characters like that one girl who always said like all the time had Atsumi Tanezaki for a voice actress. Like, they really beefed this cast up, and each voice has such good chemistry with one another that it just makes the comedy even better. I think the voice acting is really good over this. Tomo-Chan Is A Girl is a solid watch. It completes its story in 12 episodes and has plenty of funny and romantic moments that balance perfectly. The short character stories give a lot more depth to the sidecast, which really shows their importance to the main story. It explores the rather weird standpoint of Tomo's personality, switching from too boyish to too girly, with an overall message that really someone will love you no matter who you are. You shouldn't need to change yourself in order for someone to accept you as a lover, especially someone you grew up with and someone you view as similar to you. I think it's a really sweet show to watch, and if you like romances, I think you'll enjoy this. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see y'all